Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Right now, the world. You're waiting for the punchline? The world.
Right now, the world.
The world. Right now, roughly, give or take a few, about 7.8 billion people. Now, those people believe a lot of different things.
Yes.
Now, if we go to I'm going to do a little theology class right here for this. So according to Wikipedia, if we just take the top 5 groups, we have about 2.4 billion Christians, about 33%, 1.9 billion Muslims, 1.2 billion secular/atheists, 1.15 billion Hindus, and then after that, it all goes down to like about 500 million Buddhists and everybody else, all the way down to Rastafarians.
Any Zoroastrians still on the list?
Zoroaster? Oh, 2.6 million.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't have expected you to say that. Sweet. When you said that, I'm like, I don't know about that. And I looked at the list. Yes.
It's on there. Okay.
They are right between Cao Dai and Tenrikios.
Okay.
I don't know.
Any Pastafarians on there?
No, that's
no flying spaghetti monsters.
That might be a smaller group. Okay. Now, suffice it to say, no matter what your personal affiliation or no affiliation at all, there is a line in this minute that I found intricately interesting for many reasons. Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're picking up here at minute 40 of Iron Man 2 from 2010. We're still in the middle of our little playlet, the two facing off against each other. So we have, obviously, Ivan has been captured by the police and put in jail. He doesn't seem particularly disturbed by this or think of it as a failure of what he has done, which is confusing to Tony. So as the conversation had been going on, the sentence he had or the paragraph he had started with was, "You come from a family of thieves and butchers, and now, like all guilty men, you seek to rewrite your own history." And so he continues that thought here in minute 40 by saying, "And you forget all the lives the Stark family has destroyed." It's like, yeah, that's right, because you don't become a billionaire without crushing a lot of people along the way. It's just not possible.
Well, and especially when that is built on the arms dealing.
Yes. Yeah. Nasty, nasty business.
I mean, that doesn't happen when you're selling books. Never. That's a different. Never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does Next Reel use AWS? Because I'm afraid that go too far. We might just get shut down. I don't know.
Anyway.
So Tony, obviously being Tony, then tries to come back at him with a joke and says, "Speaking of thieves, where'd you get this design?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, you talk a big game there, buddy. You talk about people being thieves, but you stole this. And so he says, "My father, Anton Vanko." So once again, it's all out there now. So, like, the whole thing of, like, who's this mystery man? Well, he just told you.
Yeah, he just told you.
Look up Anton Vanko. Anton Vanko has one son, Ivan. Oh, there he is. There's Ivan Vanko.
Done. Right. And also, too, I think it's great that we've got this whole conversation stretched across these minutes speaks to, okay, if Tony's right now going into thievery mode, like, who'd you get this from? It goes to why he started off with the whole technobabble.
Right.
In that he wanted to gauge and understand, well, who am I talking to here without any other
Are you the organ
knowledge?
grinder or are you the monkey?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, did somebody just put this on you and say, go fight this guy? Or are you the one who actually did it? Which now he kind of is getting, but, like, when he tried that, he got nothing. But now Ivan is interesting because it's interesting. Ivan is sort of having his own conversation because he's not really playing tennis here. He's not responding to all that kind of stuff. He's just like, I have a specific thing I need to tell you about. I'm going to, and dance around all you want. We're going to get to a way I want to do this one way or another. And so, interestingly, the next line I think is probably the most painful line, but Tony doesn't know it. Tony says, "Well, I've never heard of him." And I think of all things, that was the one that was like, oh, like stabbed to the heart. But Ivan doesn't let it show. But us knowing what we know, that one had to sting.
Oh no! And it's how he delivers it, because I think it's just never heard of him. Like,
Yeah.
tossed away. Just,
Yeah.
nope, don't even know who you're talking about. Garbage.
And like, Mickey takes a beat, and this is either it's him or editing or both, whatever. He takes the beat of like, okay, like
Fists were being clenched.
he says, "My father is the reason you are alive," and it's like, oh, okay. So from his perspective, from Ivan's perspective, like his father is the one who either co-invented or invented and had it stolen by Stark.
Right.
This technology, and the technology is what is in Tony's chest, keeping him alive, is though that pulled all of the shrapnel away from his heart and kept him alive. So like, my father's invention is the reason that we are having this conversation at all, because it saved your life, and it continues at this point to save your life. But, Tony Howdy says no idea what that is. And so he immediately fires back. The reason I'm alive is because you had a shot, you took it, and you missed. And it's like, dude, like it completely misses the point.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And it's just you came for the king, and nothing happened. Like, what? Like, come on, man. Like, you're the one sitting in the cell. Really, bro? And so then this is probably the best line in the movie. And, and one of the best deliveries that Mickey Rourke gives, too. Did I? Mm-hmm. We'll actually hear that same line in another supervillain's mouth later on, in another moment that lands just as hard as this one. Because he continues on, he says, "If you can make God bleed, people will cease to believe in him." And then he switches the metaphor up a little bit, but still keeping on with the whole blood thing. He says, "And there will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come. All I have to do is sit here and watch, and the world will consume you." Oh, man, that is a powerhouse of a supervillain line.
It's so... Okay, so first of all, you have this whole thing about Tony, and again, I love this. Tony's in the dark.
Yes.
He's physically in the dark.
Who this guy is, what he's talking about.
He's literally in a dark concrete cell, and he's actually totally mentally and just cognitively in the dark about what's going on here. So I just love that there's real resonance in what Ivan is telling him, because the viewer obviously knows what's motivated him and his whole backstory. Okay, but I think there is so much in this. Okay, so the first few times I saw this movie, I was always struck by this interesting line of, if you can make God bleed, then people would cease to believe in him, for two reasons. Number one, here is a character, and this is why I talked about theology here at the beginning and stuff, different world religions. You see this character has crosses on his body, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he has some sort of
necklace too.
Yes, so there's some sort of affiliation with theology, and we would assume some Christianity. Christianity is the exact opposite of that line. In that, by God bleeding, that's how people were drawn to believe in him in that situation, right? Now, you'd say, and actually, if you ever Google this, there's been a lot of discussions about this, right? And I think sometimes people look at this, or, if you watch this from that perspective, and you say, well, that's kind of that, and the take has been, well, that's just a silly line. That doesn't make any sense. No, because here's why it does make sense. And this is my take on it. This is showing you how angry Ivan is. And he's not just angry with Tony. Mm-hmm. He's angry with what he believes is God.
The cult of Tony.
He is literally angry with God.
Oh.
He's angry with all of creation. He's just pissed off because of what happened to his father, what happened to his life, what happened to his family, what's happened. He has just known nothing but pain and suffering. And so he's actually saying, when he says, if you can make God bleed, yes, he is totally, there's a deity complex here with Tony in what Tony thinks of himself, and Tony, how he sees himself in the world and how he sees it. But he's also, I think, projecting all of his anger with everything onto Tony. And I think that's actually the purpose of the line. And it's interesting because it is so, it's one of those lines where, even as a writer, I think it's one of those lines you would write and immediately would come into your head and you'd go, oh, that's a really cool line. And then you'd think about it and something would be revealed to you like, oh, well, no, actually, that doesn't work at all. That's kind of how this line is, because I don't think it's that. I think it's that, no, you're trying to understand how angry and how the rage of Ivan's character is focused on everything he does in life.
True, in this moment, I don't think he's that angry in terms of like an angry person. Because he did what he set out to do.
Oh, like, it's like, darker anger. It's not rage. It's not rage anger.
Like, we talked a little bit about this during the fight
right.
when we had Pete on. He's not trying to kill Iron Man. He's not trying to kill Tony. Yeah. Like, that's not what his goal is. So all the peacocking, all the grandstanding, all that stuff out there, the slow walk, all the thing, that was all part of the performance, because it was never about killing him in front of everybody and going, look, he's dead. He's not trying to make him a martyr. He's trying to bring him low so that the world will kill him with 1,000 cuts.
Oh, and here you go. Because to him, he is trying to kill something much bigger than Tony.
Yes, he's trying to kill the idea. He's trying to kill the Stark legacy.
Well, and I think all of that.
Yeah.
He's trying to kill peace. He's trying to kill
like everything that Iron Man stands for, everything that everything Tony has accomplished, his name, his good fortune, all this stuff. He's trying to destroy it all. And you know what? It's working.
Do you know what's amazing about this is go all the way back to the one of the opening shots of this movie.
Yeah.
The whole thing that Tony says on the stage about legacy.
Yeah.
This is literally the man who wants to be the harbinger of that. He wants to end it all.
Yes.
That's what you're getting from this. Oh, yeah. This is deep.
It's fantastic. So this allow me to toot my own horn a little bit and also admit to some theft. So I had an opportunity a couple of years back to do a new version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So and one of the things that we did is wanted to have it that it was a female Captain Nemo and wanted to do it. So I was thinking about like, how can I show her mercilessness too? And so I had a scene where after an attack, there's a bunch of the sailors are still on the left on the ocean, like after she's destroyed, cracked the ship in half. All the sailors are out there, basically just floating and of course this is during the 1860s or whatever where we set it. No help is coming, so they're out there, and so someone says, well, what about all the survivors? And she says, well, the sharks must be fed. And that's her exit line. And I was like, boom! And I listen and go, oh yeah, I kind of stole it. I can see it right here. And it's like, oh yeah, it's taking inspiration from that too. But I was really proud of that line. And I was like, all right, only half me. Like,
which by the way, that was a fantastic play.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I wish I could direct everybody to go watch it on YouTube, but they never put it out anywhere. So it was like one of those things that it went through, happened. I got I have an award on my wall.
I was just going to say you're award winning, yes.
So, yeah, and then I actually ended up using it multiple times, and it ended up I brought it back too, because by the end when you hear the line again, it actually means something different. So good writing recognized good writing, hopefully. But this is the thing. So when he's saying this, so his goal, his entire goal was not kill, is basically let the world do the work. Basically, so this is 300. The same thing, yes. You show that this is your king, basically you make it so this deity that everybody's following is just a man, and suddenly then the world will do the work for you. And so that is what his goal is. So right here so this would be a great way to exit the movie. So this is where we get into my alternate version of Iron Man 2.
Are you fixing this movie?
This is my I can fix it. Okay. So I won't go. I would do a whole new third act, but we won't get into that part. But basically, what if this is where Mickey Rourke exited? What if Whiplash, this was his goal? Boom, he's done. What if all of this conversation happened on his hospital bed and then he dies and he's gone? He would still be one of the greatest Marvel villains of all time.
Oh,
he would still be talking about because of what happens is what brings it low. Why people Whiplash. But if this was his thing, shows up, whips the hell out of Iron Man, and then goes, that was never my goal. It was always just to show that you're just a man. Boom. And he's out. And apparently, listening to commentary, that was the original plan. This was going to be Boris. Boris was going to get the Whiplash thing, do this up, and then die after the fight. And then it was going to be a whole different third act. But like having that to have him not show up again later on in the movie and a thing and do the thing with the thing would have been so much better.
You know, that's no, that changes everything. A little digression here about where the movie goes after this. Okay, one, I really wonder then how the Justin Hammer story would play out. I
think it would be interesting to have him like even a legion of other, like, you know, it's like he gets the technology, you know, like somehow like, okay, we don't have it, he cracks it, but like turns out that actually like when they raid it, they find the thing and it ends, or the police, I would say, if off the top of my head, before he can get to the police confiscate the whole rig. Iron Man wants it, but before he can get to it, someone breaks in and steals it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can actually introduce, like, I guess if I was going to do it all the way, I would have a Happy Hogan for Hammer. Another guy, or probably even one like Mercy Graves is for Lex Luthor, that always with him. And then she's like the henchman, so she's the one doing all of the stuff. And then she could be eventually in a suit. Because Justin Hammer's never going to get his hands dirty. But then she shows up as Blizzard or Ripsaw or whatever other kind of, you get Spy Master. You can like go through his archives, all this stuff, and then the show up and then at the end of the movie is, of course, then it's loose. The technology is loose in the world.
Oh, and
then oh god,
that's crazy. Yeah.
But I like this is my thing. But like this would have been a great way to just walk out the door. And then after that, then all of a sudden, I would think his rank would elevate immeasurably against all the other heroes, and he'd be up there with all like the major Marvel villains.
That's not to say that it's still entertaining what's coming, because I enjoy it quite a bit. But you know.
Well, yeah, I know. It feels like this is a pivot point, and from this point, I don't like the way it pivots.
Well, no, this is, and that is interesting. Really, the rest of the movie, there's going to be some still to come, a lot of amazing conversations, because there'll be a lot of what ifs that we will play out on this.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, this seems to be the height. He had a story.
Yes.
He kicked some butt, and which we're going to get into, he's really thrown Tony for a loop on multiple levels. Now, okay, before we move on to this, just one other thing I want to add about the Making God Bleed comment. Mm-hmm. It's theorized that there's a callback to this at a later movie.
Okay.
So do you know that the callback? So there are people who have theorized that in Infinity War, when Tony has the fight with Thanos,
he makes God bleed.
Right. All that for a drop of blood.
Everybody thought there was going to be some sort of like super weapon developed off of his bleed, but like. That's really good. There's
people that have made that assumption, and I do find that interesting that, maybe that scene
in Infinity War.
In Infinity War is a callback to this moment, which again cements the importance of this movie in the entire
MCU. I'm glad for them cementing this particular moment. But I guess what we're going to see, and I say I won't get too deep into this, but from here on out, the problem is that your main villain, which Whiplash is purported to be, Ivan, he lacks agency. So from here on out, like, his thing is done. So from here on out, he's just like, okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, let's like, you barely get any idea that he has any type of plans beyond this. He's just sort of making up as he goes along. Now that's like, obviously, if you go to this scene is comparable to the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight between Joker and Batman.
That is weak.
Like, I'm not crazy. I'm just ahead of the curve. Like that kind of like, you're like, oh man, okay. And then later on when it's the Joker and Two-Face, when he is saying, I'm a dog chasing cars. Like, which is a flat out lie, because the Joker plans everything. Like, he is flat out lying, that because all the way through The Dark Knight is his plan. Well, Whiplash's plan is done. From here on out, he's just playing it as it lays. Like, okay, all right, I'll try that. All right, and so it's we're gonna track it as we go through, because by the time he shows up in a big suit, I am totally lost. Like,
well, we'll talk.
We're gonna trace that. But from here, like, so in his mind at this moment, mentally, he's done.
Right.
Like, Ivan Vanko is done. Like, he's like, did what I wanted to do.
Oh yeah,
send me back to prison. I got friends there. I don't care. Like,
exactly. Sure.
Like, I'm out. So I want to like keep that in our heads as we go and sort of trace his thought process as we go from here on out, because he is a man who set out to accomplish an unbelievable goal and did.
Yes.
So we still have, then Tony is still talking. He said, and trying to like hit him with the zinger. Pew pew pew. Says, where will you be watching the world consume me from? Oh, a prison cell. I'll send you a bar of soap. Iron Man 2 Tony, you're the worst.
Yeah, that's I cringe every time now. I cringe. I'm like, that's not cool.
But then Ivan does get the last word. Unfortunately, we don't get to hear that last word because it gets cut off. So he says, hey, Tony, before you go, palladium in the chest. That's a painful way to... And that's where the minute unfortunately ends.
What?
We don't get to hear the end of that sentence until
Now,
minute 41.
Okay, we've talked about this on and off mic here. The minute breaks I love of this movie so far, because we've got perfect moments. Like, thank God, like the whole suit up scene was not broken across minutes, right? Like all of that, the fight, all of this stuff. This is crazy. Like, this is such a cliffhanger, because
so close. It's so close.
Well, but what's incredible about this is just following it minute by minute, which is why you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Well, we already know Tony's in the dark, right?
Yeah.
He knows more about his family than he realizes. There's all this stuff. To drop this bomb, hey.
Yeah, also, I know exactly what's happening to you.
I know something no one on the face of the earth knows about you. Sort of, but we'll find out more about that later.
Right.
I know this about you. Oh, mind blown for Tony.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That he knows not only how to make an arc reactor, but also exactly what that arc reactor is doing when it's in his chest. So that Tony thought only he knew. Yeah. I say this scene does not get enough respect in the Marvel canon. Like in terms of like this scene. Because like it is as important a scene as like in that we're talking about in the Dark Knight. Like that scene is lauded and exalted and shown and dissected. You can go on the internet and see tons of things about that. But like it's because there's a lot of junk around it that it's people don't notice it for the gem that it is.
Do you know why I think though also too it is?
Why?
Because I think for a long time, I don't think people can get over the appearance of Mickey Rourke in this.
True. I mean, I'm really not a fan of how far over the top he goes.
No,
I really wish the teeth are really distracting. The tattoos are fine. The hair is really, I find bizarre. Like, I don't understand why that would be a Russian scientist gangster would have like almost dreads. Like it's really strange.
It's here's the thing. Imagine how this scene would have been, how it would have played differently, and how it would be seen differently had he been in a jumpsuit, like a prisoner jumpsuit.
Yeah, true.
Because then there is nothing else to focus on other than the conversation.
True, but I can see that having him be the most vulnerable. He has nothing. Like he's entirely stripped down. He has no armor.
Right.
You know, where Tony is dressed up and free to move about. Like, here is a man who is naked and chained and still has most of the power in the scene.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that part didn't bother me as much. But, yeah, I think this is the high point of acting for both of these guys in this movie.
Okay. I mean, this
is the controversial statement I am making.
We all know what you think. I mean, I understand. I mean, hey, I'm just impressed. I'm glad that you have loved these last 5 minutes.
I did. And now it's all downhill. No, I'm there. I'd say I'm not going to be like suffering like I was the minutes leading up to this.
No, it's going to be great.
No, it's not going to be great. But it's not going to be great. Painful. Like there's still a lot of good stuff that's going to happen, and a lot of some really fun performances and some good effects and stuff too. I'm not down on that because War Machine has yet to rear his silver head. I mean, like there's tons of great Don Cheadle stuff coming, and there's actually some great Scarlett Johansson stuff coming. So
yes,
don't stop listening, people.
No,
there's still some really really good stuff in here. So I'm not going to just be bashing for the rest of the time. But I can tell you, like thematically, this was the high, and from here on out, it's just like. Okay. Let's continue on and
for the people. So in celebration, obviously, this minute you would say to yourself, we've just talked about this, although this minute has so been focused on dialogue,
Yes.
the one big visual element is the incredible tapestry of art that has, adorned Ivan's bodice here. Bodice? Why did I say bodice? No, body.
Body,
Not a bodice. That's horrible. Sometimes I misspeak, and the people all know this has happened.
Misgender Ivan Vanko?
Let me ask you this. Forget about that.
Okay.
Let's just say, if you're interested in visuals, where maybe do you think someone could go?
It happens that we have a pretty strong significance present on the Instagram.
Wait, it took us so long to get there.
Boy, it sure did. Thank you for taking this journey with us as we went to promo our Instagram handle, which is @thenextreel. We are promoting all of our shows. We're putting up excerpts and really cool art, and it is aesthetically pleasing. At least that's our intention. So follow us on Instagram. We're having a lot of fun posting all sorts of stuff on there. So @thenextreel, follow us, and I believe we follow you back because that's kind of the people we are.
That's how we are.
So thank you all for listening. We're going to be leaving the prison cell here, and then we're going into a brave new world where things are not going to go very well for Tony from here on out. So the fall of Tony Stark begins in earnest here in minute 41, and you do not want to miss it. Enough said.
Bye.